Hi, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. Welcome back. My name is Makasa Looking Horse, and I'm from Six Nations. I'm 23 years old. This is for a water project called Oneganos. Let's Talk Water. Water is life. And I'm a McMaster student here in Hamilton, but now I am working from home, of course, because of COVID. But I wanted to welcome everybody back for season 3 premiere of Oneganos Let's Talk Water. After a long break over the holidays, we're back with another amazing season for you all. The show might look a little bit different tonight, but we can't have our production team in the studio, so we're having some adjustments because of the pandemic. We're super excited to have important discussions about water with you. And tonight is full of stories, teachings about water, and from our elders and youth, and the music from Indigenous artists, Okema and Ochinoa and Gwawa and Alex Turtle. Let's get to it. This song is called Life of a Native.
We were told long ago that we would see America come and go. I often wondered what generation that would be. What would be the signs that we would see America in its failing times? And I think we're in that. And I think that this kind of exploitation is more recognizable and identifiable. And the cultures are getting stronger and beginning to realize it's about your own survival and not about America so much. But the more pollution there is, the more cancer there is. So you begin to see a nation dying from within.
So what you know about the life of a native? Growing up the generations most hated. Every day my people get discriminated based on the stereotypes you done created. Nowadays you have the audacity to pass us off as a lower class. Nowadays you laugh at us, but now is the day where we finally had enough from this staple. Now all the days we're standing up. Too many years you oppressed us, suppressed us, infect us with your disease and left us. Millions of my people dead, now you expect us to forgive and forget like it don't affect us. You can try to change history and hide that it wasn't genocide, but read between the lines and you will find war crimes masterminded. Now you wonder why people turn to suicide and have a hard time searching and finding who they really are, cause they're constantly reminded of the time when you came uninvited, entered our homes and took your young kids crying away from their families. The tragedies left scars so deep, no apologies will ever cover up the pain that you caused us. Now is the day where you see my people stand up. So what you know about the life of a native? Growing up the generations most hated. Every day my people get discriminated based on the stereotypes you done created. Nowadays you have the audacity to pass us off as a lower class. Nowadays you laugh at us, but now is the day where we finally had enough from this staple. Now all the days we're standing up. Now all the days you'll commend and respect us. Gone all the days you apprehend and offend us. Pretend to us you're a friend, but forget trust. We all know the scheme that you're hiding your agendas. We all see through the deceit and the lies. A smile in the skies, but your eyes can't hide it. But now is the time we'll speak and we'll rise. All you want is other minds, but we can't stay silent. Through our chiefs and the elders we have guided. Divided we fall, but together stand united. For our earth and the water we will fight it. Our mother earth is crying, now you can't deny it. We are not the enemy that we're said to be. We're thinking of the generation that's ahead of me. So we'll continue to take the earth back for all of us. White, black or brown, well together we should stand up. So what you know about the life of a native? Growing up the generations most hated. Every day my people get discriminated based on the stereotypes you done created. Nowadays you have the audacity to pass us off as a lower class. Nowadays you laugh at us, but now is the day where we finally had enough from this staple. Now all the days we're standing up.
And in a world where we need to build on mutual respect, it's moving slowly across this country and educating people. So I think there's a time when all racism will be abolished.
That was a great music video called Life of a Native. So up next, I know everybody's waiting for Elva, but after this digital story, she will be talking. So our next media is called A Digital Story, and it's called Gahnegalunyo, Water is Everywhere by Gahundi Yoha, Denise McQueen, who was actually on our team. We want to share this story because it explains where water stories come from, like the creation story. I think this will help those of you who aren't familiar with creation stories, and this story has beautiful visuals and is also translated in Mohawk. So let's watch.
That's what you want to got to wait to room down in a gungwe. Nagadi donna wa yaga ane, dayada ne, and a garu yage, guanyo, gahunzi, zinue, undo headste, diogalas, undo headste. Don and no why gaining what gato, and why eero, nekne o nega ega. Nega the so when Sky Woman comes from the sky world, she goes through this dark tunnel first, and when she emerges from the dark tunnel, that was her first words that she said, Nekne o nega ega. So when she lands here on the back of the turtle, that represents that the land came up. It needed the earth to propagate life. So again, into the waters where she sent the animals to bring life up in the form of earth to put on the turtle's back. So when they say Gahni Gardunyo, and others will say Ganya Dada Haraherde, which means that these waters are up, they're elevated. And what that means is they're connected with the rain. So then they say, Gahneganoro. So why is the water precious? Well, we also say when it's raining, Yogonoro. Yoga, zi, ganoro. It's visibly precious, how we talk about the rain. So when that comes down, everything needs the water. The plants need the water to grow. The animals need the water. We need the water. Over 70% of your body is made up of water as well. So that's the reason why water is so precious, because it supports life. And even when scientists go to other, they send their rocket ship up looking for other life, that's the first thing that they look for, is they look for water, because they know water then is associated, where there's water, there's going to be life forms of some one form or another.
That was a wonderful digital story by Denise McQueen. And so next up, our guest, Elva Jamieson. I am going to do a little introduction for her. So our guest tonight is Elva Jamieson. We had to pre-record her conversation with her, but we are still excited because she shares so much wisdom. Elva Jamieson is a Cayuga Nation and Cayuga Nation woman and belongs to the Wolf Clan. She has been a faith keeper since she was a teen, and that means she has a big responsibility to take care of our community of Six Nations. Elva has created Juddha's Place, where she works as a traditional medicine practitioner. She has a lifelong knowledge of knowing medicine and has been learning since she was little. She is valued in our community and she takes care of everyone in it. I want to recognize the importance of the health of our environment, like the water and the plants. If the water isn't healthy and then the medicines aren't healthy, we as the people that take the medicines are not going to be healthy. So everything is interconnected, and that's why we have her on the show today. We need to protect our water, and let's hear from Elva herself, who shares her relationship with water and our responsibility, and shares stories of our Haudenosaunee responsibility to water. So here's Elva. Sego, Elva. I'm so happy to see you again. And Elva, if anybody doesn't know Elva, she's one of our valued traditional medicine practitioners in our community of Six Nations. She has a vast knowledge of medicine. She teaches youth and people who want to learn traditional medicines in our community. And a lot of people don't know, have the knowledge that she has. So she's very valued in our community. And she carries knowledge of stories, and we're hoping that maybe she'll share some today. So this is Elva Jamieson, and she is going to tell us stories about water and her knowledge about water, which is very valued in here in Six Nations. So Elva, Sego, could you tell us more about our responsibilities when caring for the water, not only as women, but as Haudenosaunee people?
Okay, scan oswagwego. Hello to all you, peace to everyone. And I don't know if I can measure up to Makasa's introduction there, but I'll do my best to talk about Oneganos, water. And when I look at this, when I hear this question, what she put there, I was wondering, how do we do that? How do we show that? And for me, it's like, we learn that right from when we're little. This is how we're supposed to start. Right from when we're little kids, we learn, because for me, we weren't allowed to play with water when I was a little kid. There was no such thing as water balloons. There was, but not at my house, because then we're not showing respect for that water. If we needed to get cooled off, my mother used to put water in a tub, like an outside tub, like a laundry tub. And at that time, it was one of those big galvanized tubs. She put water in there. That's where we get in and cool off. Kind of like maybe how we would have like a little pool, like how we have one of those little pools for kids. That's how we would do it. We wouldn't throw water around and things like that. And so it's part of that, of learning about the value of water, comes right from our Handokaihuadeko, or the words before all else, or Ganohanyok, our Thanksgiving address. And right in there, it talks about water. It talks about how every drop, when they talk about water, they said right from the smallest drop of water is precious to us, and how we're supposed to be respectful to that, Oneganos, even the drops of water. Because when you get lots of drops of water, first thing you know, you can swallow, you can have a whole swallow of water. And how that's important to us as Haudenosaunee people. So it starts right from there, and they give thanks for those drops of water. And then it goes on to the puddles, and it goes on to the little streams. And then it goes on to the creeks. It goes on to the ponds and to the swamps, and it goes on, and it goes, first thing you know, it goes on to the creeks, all the way to the rivers, and all the way to the big waters, to the lakes, and all the way to the ocean, and talks about all the water. And it talks about the different kind of water. The water, the sacred water, the first water when we get sacred water is the one that comes from this maple tree. That water is sacred to us. The first time we drink that water, it's got medicine in it for us. So we acknowledge that. And we also acknowledge the other sacred water, the one that lives in, that's in the mother's belly. That water is so sacred because it's protecting that baby. And you think about that and what happens today in our world of where we're living is how that water now is not pure anymore. And also it talks about how all the water is sacred, even the water that in the veins within the earth. They say jinhia da deño. That's like veins, just like how we got veins in our body. That's how it is in Mother Earth. And she helps to clear that water, purify that water. So that's what she does. And then so we talk about all the different levels of water and how precious it is to us. So this is how come when we weren't allowed to play water guns, we weren't allowed to play water balloons, because then we're not being respectful to the water. And when I was a child, we used to go get, well, it used to snow them days. We used to go outside and get snow and melt it. And then that's what we used to use sometimes to bath with or to do our laundry with, you know, because we were saving the other water in the well for us to drink. At them days, the water in the well was still good, but we would still save it that way. And the other thing too, you know, like this conservation thing and this like recycling and all that, that's not a new thing. It's not new. I know, like I'm going to be 66 pretty soon, another couple months. When I was a kid, that's got to be 60 years ago. You know, like my mother, when she washes dishes and then she rinses the dishes. So when she rinses the dishes, that water from that rinse water from the dishes, sometimes she uses that to wash the floor. Sometimes she uses that to water the plants. Sometimes we use that water the garden. But even that dishwater, a lot of times we don't put it down the drain. We take it outside and sometimes we're going to wash something away and pour it on there and for it to get washed too. Maybe the boards where we're walking, maybe it's muddy. We use that to wash it. So that's right there. That's to me how that recycling that water, how it used to happen. And that's so we can use it, you know, and reuse it. So that's the kind of thing that used to happen for us. And even when we used to take a bath, nowadays we can stand in the shower, take a bath. Them days we used to take a bird bath. We used to call it bird bath. So we take a wash, we wash our hair. When we rinse it, we use that rinse water to wash our bodies. And so that's how that was, you know. And so that's all part of that is conserving water, conserving the water. And them days we used to be able to go to the stream and get water out of there. We used to use that water like to wash the floor or to wash our clothes with it. And that water was not dirty how it is. It doesn't look like chocolate milk the way it does today, not them days. So a lot has happened to our water since then. And so when I think about the responsibility, it's true. It's not just the women that are responsible for that water. It's everybody's responsibility. And even how we use the water and what we use the water for. That too is our responsibility. And it starts when they're little kids to teach to be conservative with water. And you know, one of the things that really bothers me is when we go someplace and they got these bottles of water, and you know, some of the kids still only have a few drinks and there that water sits. And to me, because of how I grew up, to me, that's like that's hard for me to watch that and witness. And for my own grandkids did that. And I took those bottles and I start watering the plants. And my grandchildren asked me why am I doing that? And I says, well, I don't even know whose water this is. I can't give it to somebody and say, drink it up. It's not their water. I says, but the plants need water, so I can give it to that. I says, you know what I would like? I would like you to bring a cup. And I got a cup. And I had cups that's got a lid. I says, here's your cup. This is what you're going to use. You get water out of the cooler and drink that instead. You only take what you need. If you don't need that whole bottle, if you don't drink it, it's going to go to waste. That water is going to go to waste. So it's everybody's responsibility to teach these young ones. And when they're small, they're easy to to learn, easy to teach them. And when they get bigger, they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. They want to have their own way. But look at what's happening. So we got to teach them the value of the water, but not only that, of those plastic bottles too. You know, we got to teach them about that. Yes, they're recyclable, but they got to learn all of the things about rethinking how we're using it. Reuse the water if we can, right? Reduce how we use it. You know, those kind of things. They need to learn those things. So in our way, long time ago, it was natural. It was natural, like, because this is what we're taught right from when we're small, how to conserve water. And them days, like now, we got water trucks that come in and bring water to the cistern. Them days we were lucky still, I guess, when I think about it, because we still had water in the well. And then we would say, okay, you gotta, because then during the summer months, July, August, the water will go way down. And I used to think that's one of the reasons why we practice that conservation, because we gotta watch that water in the well. There was not, it's not a constant free flow of water. We have to be careful of it. And so there's a lot of things that have happened from that time to now. For us now, we're losing respect for that water. And you know, like, and I know, like, for myself, even when I run the tab, on hot water, I put a picture there, and I catch that water that's the cold water. I don't let it go down the drain until my water gets warm enough, hot enough for me to take a shower or wash dishes. I catch it in that picture because I still have plants, or I put it in my tea kettle when I'm going to make tea, things like that. Or, you know, I can use that water later. So I still do that. I still practice that. And I got asked, my grandkids asked me, why do I do that? I says, I don't want that water to go to waste. I says, you know, I says, that's a precious water. You know, I says, we can't just let it go down the drain. I says, yeah, it'll help the earth. You know, if we let it go down the drain, it'll help the earth. But I says, we got to practice that, because that helps us to hold water precious to us. So it's not just women, it's everybody, the kids, the men, the women, you know, the grandpas and grandmas. We all need to show that. We all need to practice it. So it becomes that child's normal life again. Because now, how are we? We're adults are the biggest ones to be wasteful of things like that. So we can't blame the kids. We gotta set the example for them. We have to show them, we have to teach them, we have to practice it ourselves. So that's what I think about the water, and showing respect. It's in our Handogan Hueteco, what it's about showing respect and acknowledgement to all living things. The water, yes, but the water is connected to everything. If we don't have water, you know, like the animal's gonna die. We're gonna die. The plant life's gonna die. So I gotta have a drink right now because my throat's bothering. So that's the kind of thing. And you know, the other thing too is with us, I know with a lot of the Anishinaabe people, they have lots of songs that's specific to the water and that type of thing. And I was looking in a Haudenosaunee way to try to find a water or song that's specific to the water. And myself, I couldn't find any. There might be some that people have made up, but I know that this is what my mother told me, because she used to like to travel, my mom. And then I like to travel too. So I was going to the ocean. We were going to visit our friends. We have friends in New York City. So we went to go visit our friends. And my mom says, well, you make sure everybody brings your tobacco because we're going to go to the ocean. So when we got there, my mom, she went to the water and she told us to hold our tobacco in our hand. She goes, we're gonna acknowledge this big water because we hardly ever get here. This is salt water. She says, we're gonna acknowledge this water. We're gonna give this water thanks for everything what it does for us, for our people, for all the people. She says, so you put your prayers in there and you give your thanksgiving to this water. And we acknowledge that we hardly ever get here and how grateful we are that we get to stick our feet in here. We get to wash with this water. So we went there, and my friends, they live in Long Island. So we went on the other side of that island where it's at the ocean part. So that's where we went, and we put our tobacco in our kids and my sister and her kids and my mom and I. And we did that. And then that's what she told us. She says, whenever you go where there's salt water, she says, we hardly get there. Make sure you acknowledge that water. Make sure. She says, wherever you go, acknowledge the water, acknowledge the land that you walk on. She says, because there's certain ancestors that lived there, not ours, but we have to acknowledge them because we're visitors in that community. She says, when you come to this water, because we hardly ever get here, you're a visitor here. She said, so you acknowledge this water. So that's what we did. That's what we did there. And that's what I do. I went to Hawaii. She says, don't forget about the water. I went to Alaska. Don't forget about the water. When we go to Florida, don't forget about the water. That's how that's how I was raised. So that's what we do. We acknowledge that water, like no matter where we go, if there's a river or lakes and different things, we acknowledge that water. When we're there, we're visiting them. So, so that's another thing. And when we talk about the water that's in the belly and how that sacred that water is, because my mom says when the water in the mother's belly, she says it's protecting that child. She goes, long time ago, she says they used to dig a hole. And she says, and then when the baby is born, she says that water goes in that hole. And as soon as that water hits the earth, that water has a message for the creation. A baby is coming. A baby's coming. And all creation looks there to see this baby going to be born. And that's why she said it needs to get acknowledged, that water that comes from the baby. Excuse me. So those are some things that's, I guess, getting lost. And some of the things what I've done lately, especially because the water's having a difficult time, is trying to keep everything clean. In the springtime, this past spring, I went down to Port Dover. I went down there for water ceremony because I felt like I was being drawn to the water. When I went there, I had built a little wee fire, just a small fire. I burned tobacco there, acknowledge the water, acknowledge everything what that water does for us, how it cleans us inside and out, how it's a medicine inside and out, and how it is nourishing for everything. Like I said, the plants, the animals, the people, everything. And I said, I want to acknowledge you for everything what you do for us. And I said, and I also want to acknowledge how hard you're working to keep this world clean. I want to acknowledge you for that. And I said, now I want to apologize for all the people that don't respect you anymore, that are making it hard, your job hard. I said, I'm going to give you this tobacco and I'm going to sing a song for you, acknowledging you. And the song I sing is a song that we sing, us women sing. And this song, it's like a vocable. It's not really have words, don't really have words. But I started singing that song and I kept singing it and singing it and singing it till I was done singing it. And you know something? I looked at that water and that water was shiny. But when I really looked, I thought that water has got metal in it. This is not shininess coming off of the water from the sun. I can see metal in that water. And I stood there beside the water And I says, I see how hard you're working. And I acknowledge you for that. And I'm sorry that you have to work so hard. And you know that water, what it did? It started coming up to my feet. And I was quite a ways. It was probably like good 6-8 feet away from me. But before you know it, that water was on my feet. And I just stood there and I could feel the water itself coming up and melding with my water, because we're made up of water. Our bodies are made up with, I forget how many, 70 whatever percent of water. Mm-hmm. But I could feel that water melting into me and going like this. That water was cleaning me. It was cleaning my spirit. And I held my tobacco and I says, I didn't come here for you to clean me. I come here to acknowledge you. But I could feel the love from that water. And I thought, this is how important, this is how precious this water is. And I thank that water for whatever it took away. And I says, I'll do my best to be able to do what I can do in my own home, with my own children, with my own grandchildren, to be able to keep respecting you, to keep doing that. That's what I'm gonna do. So I want to say Nyawa Makasha for being able to share a little bit about our responsibilities. It's not just my responsibility. It's everybody's. And the other time there's a World Water Day. We went down to Port Maitland, where the Grand River goes into the lake. And from there, that lake and all their connections, it takes it to the seaway and it goes out to the ocean. We went down there and we had a water ceremony there. And there we prayed for all the waters of the earth, all the waters. We went there, we put burnt tobacco and we put our water, because we had just had a moon ceremony too, which is the moon and the water work together for us. So we took that water from the moon ceremony, we went down there and we put it in the water and we said, let this be a healing for you, water. We would like you to be well too. And not just our water in our territory, but all the waters of the world. All the waters of the world. Because what happens on the other side of the world is going to affect us over here with our water. And what we do over here is going to affect them too. We're connected to all colors of man through our water and through our earth. This is how come we need to put our good words in for the water, because it's all over the world. To me, I needed to be peaceful on the other side of the world because I like peace here. So it's like, this is efforts, what we're trying to do. And through Judah's Place, we went down there. We've done it now for about 3 years in a row. Another thing, there was this big thing down in Florida where they had the oil spill. So I was pacing like a wild animal, caged up, back and forth. Finally, my son says, Mom, get ready. We're taking you to Florida tomorrow. Because I was thinking, what are those Oklahoma people doing down there? Are they doing ceremonies? Are they doing something to stop this? What are they doing? That was my thought. So my son took me there. My son and his wife and my daughter-in-law, my 2 grandkids, we went down there. And we went to the Gulf, just below, not too far away from where that oil spill was happening. And I went to the water. We went to the water. I burned tobacco there, and we pray that we ask for that to stop, because it's affecting the fish, it's affecting the land, it's affecting the birds. A lot of life was being lost. And so I says, I don't know if these what they're doing here, but we come to do this because I felt the need to come. And the spirit of that water told me, they came up and they were like big spouts, water spouts. And what they said was, you're here because you're afraid. That's why you're here. And I go, you're right. I am afraid. I don't want this to happen. I don't want us to lose so much wildlife. I don't know what it's going to do to the people here. I needed to come and burn tobacco here. I needed to do that. And they said, will you believe in your prayers? Mm-hmm. We can hear you from where you were. We can hear you. Believe in that. Believe in when you burn tobacco. Believe us. That thing. This is a lesson. What's happening is a lesson. Because the younger brothers, they don't know. They need to learn. And this is going to be over within 10 days. This will be over. Trust us. And I says, but what about the life? What about the birds? What about the fish? What about them? And what they said is, there's always casualties in the war. Always casualties. And they says, and when you seen that, it affected you. But it's not it affected. And we're hoping that people will take heed of that and learn from that. So that was the end of my expedition down there. And you know, my son, they were playing, and where they were, the water was not oily, it was clean, and or looked clean anyways. And then my son come over, he goes, Mom, what did you see? He says, I seen you. I know you saw something, because I don't want to tell him. Then I start talking, and then I start crying. He goes, well, he says, you had to come here and you had to experience that. He says, now we can go home. He says, I could have told you that, but would you believe me? I don't know. He says, but now you understand. So we stayed a couple of days, visit my cousin, then we come home. Mm-hmm. And it was after that, they had that standing rock thing. That was going on. And I got like that again. I wanted to go there so bad. Pacing again. I go, what did you learn the last time? I thought, okay, I can do it here. So we had the moon ceremony, and we got the water from there, and we got the young girls to take that water down, and we sang for them all the way down to the river and put it in the river. And we put our good words with everybody's good words about to help them over there. Mm-hmm. That's what we did. And that's sometimes it's like, that's all I got, because sometimes I can't get where I want to go. And then, but I had to remember when we put that tobacco put that tobacco in the fire, we got to believe in what we're doing. So that's all I can say about, I guess that where I pick up my responsibility as a woman, but as a Haudenosaunee person, as a grandma, as a mom, as an auntie, mm-hmm. and to promote that in my family, because it's got to start right here. I can't tell everybody over there what to do and not do it myself. I got to do it. I got to show my family. I got to encourage them. Yeah. We got to do it. Mm-hmm. And then from there, hopefully it can grow on and on. So anyway, so that's what I can share with you.
Yeah. I think a lot of our youth know how bad our water is here, and like the condition that our water is in. Mm-hmm. And it's not good, like our Grand River, Boston Creek, Mackenzie Creek. I think the youth are well aware of like their environment and its health. So what would you say to young people who are dealing with difficult news about their water?
Well, you know, all I could say, like, because I got teenagers, grandchildren, teenagers, you know, all I can tell them is to be respectful themselves, because you know what they always say? Well, this is what the adults are doing. Mm-hmm. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. And I said, but that doesn't have to be you. And if you see it, you can have your say, whether the adults listen or not. You can still have your say. You can still do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and it's like, find those people that think like you. and then find those people, those adults that can support you. So we have to change. Us adults have to change. We come from a time of like abundance, and now look at how things have turned. So we need to, the air even. We've come from that place where we've robbed from our future, like our children. So we need to take responsibility. The adults need to take responsibility. But this youth, that's all I can say, because a lot of times too, I hear the adults, they don't listen to the youth, right? They don't listen to them. So even today, it's still like that.
Yeah.
So it's like the youth, and it's good if you can find a way, like any kind of a, I guess what I'm thinking about is they know, and like this program what you have, this is like information, but there's got to be more that's got to come from this, right? There's like, whether it's this or whether it's wherever, it's got to be taken, where it's like, okay, you know, like this is what we can do. And I like that, where you had the kids where they went and they tested the water, where there's other things more that needs to happen in our councils, our Haudenosaunee Council and the Band Council. They need to look at this, but I think they need solutions more than they say, this is the problem. I think they need solutions, and if they're open enough, you know, like, because sometimes kids are smart. Kids are smart, and they can study, and they can be on that Google, and they can look at all kinds of stuff, and they can come up with things. This is what we can do. This what can help. So that might be part of a positive part of doing research, so that they can say, this is what can happen.
Yeah.
You know? And so then that way it empowers the youth to say, this is what I can do. I just need the means now. Or here, council, look at this.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Or anything, any like you know, whether they have water saving group, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's like, but to empower, they'll feel empowered, and it's up to you know, they can empower each other. We can empower the adults, the grandmas can empower them, the grandpas can empower them and say, look, this is what they've done. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to go back to, whatever, however that is. Maybe it's not go back. Maybe it's let's go forward.
Yeah. I agree that our government system needs to have a task force, or needs to put time aside and look at our water and look at our environment. And because there's no one really doing that right now, and there's no one to take these results and say, can you fix this? Because it's supposed to be the federal government's responsibility that we're supposed to have clean drinking water. And we do our part as a project. I've had climate change awareness days. We had clean up the creek days, where we like clean up and take things out of the creek. But we learned that the creek is so contaminated that if you have a cut, it will get severely infected. So it's really hard to clean up, I guess, our creeks if we can't even go near them, if they're so contaminated by the overflowing of the sewage plant, that if you go near it, you could get sick. Like that is our health of our water right now. And we are trying to take down decommissioned dams, so that our water can clean out itself properly. But this is just us as a research project doing what we can. And it's really, and like giving like putting sensors on snapping turtles so that we can monitor our health of our water. But this should be like the government's responsibility. This should be like them doing these things, and not just us as like a research project. But it should be like band council having like a big office where they can just specifically have people, then this is their full-time job, because this is only my part-time job and I'm a student. And like we can only like do so much as part-time people. But yeah, I agree that our government systems need to have those spaces and take our conditions here in Six Nations and our environment of our environment and our water seriously, because it really is. I don't think that they know the impact of like how bad it really is and how bad that it can get if we don't put a stop to it now, and if we don't make any kind of changes as a community. So that's what the way that we're trying to go and push for. But that's, yeah, definitely what I've heard about the youth, saying that they are really worried. I mean, and who wouldn't be if like they know what our environment is like, of our waters, because there's less than 2%, maybe it's less than 2% of fresh water in the entire world. So that's why I was trying to protect our aquifer and stop Nestle and other water bottling plants from taking our aquifer water, because there's so many, because they're just basically stealing it. And water has now reached the same value on Wall Street as oil, and it's going to be a scarce source. So we need to protect it any way that we can. But yeah, I agree.
The other thing I guess that I want to mention is I know the clan mothers, and they're coming. They're going to start getting together and talk about I guess to try to do more for our families, and to help from the Gagongwegwadi, from the women's side. And this is something that's really important. And I've talked with Gloria Thomas. She said that she says, Alva, I'll let you know when we start. She says, and she wants me to come over and help them out, because it's also with Faith Keepers. So I'm willing to, and this is an area that I would like to talk about, to see what can be done about it, to help to start to get the ball rolling about our water. And when I take a look at it, like where I live on, I live on the eastern side, northeast side of the Six Nations. And so we got mines across the river from Caledonia there, the mines in the mine gypsum plant. And then we got another one on Third Line. So we're kind of in the middle. And so it's kind of like, something, when I was a child, how that water in our well never used to go dry. And then I noticed when I started raising my family and my kids, so that's like 40 years ago, I noticed that the water in there it got a different taste. So that water was not sweet water anymore. It got to be like hard water, and it got to be like really a lot of minerals in it, and like kind of a little bit sulfur water. And I know over here at my mom's house, she got sulfur water when she tried to dig a well. So she just closed it up and she just used cistern instead and get the water brought in. But that gypsum plant underneath us, and with them digging around under there, that's really affected our water a lot as well. The other thing too, when you talk about that lagoon they talk about and all that waste that goes in there, I think that's a part where the band council needs to get people trained to be able to take care of that water. And I don't think there's enough trained people to take care of it. Or even this other thing, like for Gawaneo, we want to build a school. We wanted to be able to put join in and put our septic, connected to there. But it's like, when I hear this, then we talk again. We can't do it that way, because it's already overflowing. It's already bad. We got to rethink rethink what we're going to do so we don't contribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots that needs to happen, lots that can happen. We just need to do it.
Yeah, it's really the government's fault that we don't have the proper infrastructure, because that's what it is. Like, we don't have the funding to have a proper water waste treatment plant. That's what we're supposed to get with the volume of people that we have. And like, we spoke to Public Works, and there's only about one guy working, or a few guys working, because that's what they can afford to pay. And we don't have, like, the band council spent half of their money or more than half of what the water treatment plant costed to get a state-of-the-art water treatment plant, but we don't have, and that's what we had to pay for, and what the government went halves on getting for our community, but they didn't, and didn't do the same for a water waste treatment plant for the outtake. So it's really unbalanced, and we don't have the funding or the proper infrastructure for the amount of people that we have on our reserve. So that's like the real problem, is that we don't have the proper infrastructure. Just like we don't have the proper infrastructure or the monies to pipe all of the houses and put piping into houses, and that's why people don't have running water. So it really, because water is a human right, then this shouldn't be a worry. It shouldn't be a worry that it shouldn't be a problem that people on reserve don't have running water, and that you have to pay for the water waste treatment plant or water trucks, septics, to come to your house every week and take water out and take the septic out and take it, or bring water to your house. Like, those are things that we shouldn't have to worry about and shouldn't have to pay for. That's the government's responsibility to do that. So that's one thing that people, I think Six Nations doesn't really understand, is that we shouldn't have to be paying for those things at all. That all should be the government's responsibility. And we shouldn't, just like Caledonia or Toronto, like, they don't have to pay for those things at all. They don't have to pay for a truck to come to their house and take their septic waste and take it back and pay for that. Yeah, or water lines. So yeah, so that's part of the bigger picture of having improper infrastructure and not being as valued, I guess, as our white neighbors.
I guess it all, like you say, it's a part of it, right? It's a big part, but also we need to take that responsibility for ourselves, because I'll tell you this, I don't want to wait for no government to do something, because they can wait forever.
Yeah.
In the meantime, what is going to happen to us in the meantime? Yeah. So it's just like that. Even with language, we knew it was happening. We couldn't wait for no government to say, okay, here's a school for you, here's all the funding. We had to go do it as best we can and keep pressuring them. And I guess that's where I would say we have to do something and keep pressuring that government to fulfill their responsibilities that's in our treaties.
Yeah.
So it's both got to happen. I agree with you, but both has got to happen. I can't wait for that government.
Yeah.
Because they can outweigh me. They can outweigh me. I only got about 40 years left. If I'm lucky, maybe 30. You know, so
I say 60.
You know, so it's like, you know, like it's you know, like that's a crunching time. So there's things that I gotta do, but still
exactly.
I gotta advocate too. I gotta advocate, stand behind like your research here, and I gotta push the governments, you know, and not only ours, but to ours to push more and to other places, you know, to be heard and to that responsibility to be fulfilled. because there's treaties that say, that there's a money owed. It's like they're not paying their rent.
Exactly. Yeah, they owe a lot of money. They owe so much money that it's insane.
Yeah.
And land.
Mm-hmm. All righty.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna, if you're done with me now, I went way over my 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. No, that's totally fine as long, you have the time. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you for your words of wisdom of how we should be taking care of our water and build our relationship to water and not be afraid to pray to it. That's what we're supposed to be doing every day anyways, giving thanks to everything around us, including water.
Okay.
Yahweh.
Yeah. Ona.
Good day. Good evening.
You too. Ona.
Welcome back. It's kind of trippy watching myself on there, but that was a pre-recorded that we did last week with Elva Jamieson. And so, yeah, I just wanted to touch on how big of an impact it is not to have running water in Six Nations. So there was, so that it affects everybody's daily life if you don't have water, if you don't have running water. And sometimes people can't afford to pay for it, or they can't afford the infrastructure because we have to build all of our own infrastructure when you build a house. So you have to put in your own septic tank, you have to put in your own water holding tank, you have to put in your own piping, your own electric thing, you have to put in everything on your own. So when people can't afford that, and we have a large amount, or a large population of Six Nations members who don't have running water. And so that means that there's young moms who have lots of children who have children, and they might not have anyone else to help them, and bringing in water can really take a toll on them on their daily lives. So it affects people in their daily lives in different ways, and it makes life a lot harder. There has been reports of women having miscarriages because they had to carry in jugs of water. So it's a real impact that we're having in Six Nations of having no running water. And it needs to be solved, and we should have running water. And if Canada can build pipelines and billion-dollar pipelines across Canada, they should be able to build water lines from the water treatment plant to all of the households here on Six Nations. That's what we already take money from them, and water is a human right. So everybody should have access to running water. And people who don't have access to running water, have a real struggle and hard life. And it's not an easy life if you don't have running water. If you have kids, or if you have a big family, it takes a toll. Like, kids don't want to go to school if they haven't had a shower and had access to clean water in a few days. They don't want to go to school. So it takes a toll on people's mental health, physical health on a daily basis if you don't have running water. So there's those things that we don't really talk about that are happening in our community that people are struggling with on a daily basis. So it's really a privilege to have running water. Only 10% of our community is hooked up to the water treatment plant here, which has access, and and if you don't, you're relying on a well or a cistern that you have to sometimes you have to ask different people to bring your water to you. And if it's really unreliable way to get your water. If a guy named Jim, he's unavailable, or like Steve's unavailable, if every all the guys that help a household bring water to them because they have a water tank on their truck is unavailable, then you're going to go without water. So that's a really unreliable source, and people struggle all the time. And we know we have big families here, so I just wanted to put an emphasis on the struggles that people have day to day with or who have no running water. So yeah, I wanted to also say a few things that we can do, how we can hold our government accountable, because they're making Canada is making tons of decisions on water, and are excluding all Indigenous people, including Six Nations, on governing water. And we have a treaty with treaties with Canada, and we are a sovereign nation. So we should be at the table when our lands are discussed and our water is discussed, because in those treaties it does not say that they have any, it doesn't talk about water. So they don't really own the water, and so they should be discussing what they're doing with it, and they should be discussing these permits that they're handing out to Nestle, other water bottling companies. They should be discussing that with us. We should be at that table. Our Haudenosaunee traditional government should be, the Confederacy should be, Band Council should be too, and like they can work together somehow, but they should be at the table. Our traditional leaders should be at the table, and right now they're not. And that's also what I was fighting Nestle for, was stealing our water, because that's ultimately what they were doing. They were taking 3.6 million liters out of our aquifer, and like I said, we only have less than 2% of fresh water in Canada. So here are 4 ways that we can hold the government accountable. So number 1 is to get a hold of your local MP and PP regarding informed consent to protect water, because they don't consult Indigenous peoples. For example, Forbes did not consult Six Nations when accepting permits to extract more water. And that bill just passed on December 10th. Number 2, get a hold of the Minister of Indigenous Affairs to negotiate with Indigenous leadership to resolve outstanding land claims. So we have tons of them, and that's what we need to do, is pressure in the Indigenous Affairs, Indian Affairs. So number 3, get a hold of Indigenous Services and the Prime Minister if they can fund oil pipelines. Like I said, why can't they have funding to get Indigenous communities clean water? They can build billion-dollar pipelines across Canada, and why can't they build water lines in First Nations communities in Canada? They failed with their promise to that. Yeah, so the statistics are horrible. Most Indigenous communities in Canada don't have access to clean drinking water, and a lot of them, their water, it comes out black, and some of it is extremely contaminated, and so is ours in Six Nations. We have our results back, and there's going to be a report on it and how bad our water is, our tap water, and we tested cistern water, water, or well water, and water treatment plant water, and the water treatment plant water is good, but the other waters, there's about 5 different heavy metals, way above, like 500 times above the regulated amount, and that's including E. coli. So don't worry, like those people who had those contaminants in their water that we tested have been gotten a hold of them. So yeah, but we do need more people to sign up on our page to get their water tested because we don't, because we need more data, because we only tested around 80 households right now, and COVID has slowed that down, but we do need more data to see where these contaminants are coming from, and yeah, see where all of these heavy metals are located, and so we can see, yeah, where it's coming from and its source and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think I was, okay, so number 3, get a hold of an, oh, I already said that. So number 4, get rid of Trans-Canada Pipeline tar sands, abide by Paris Accord, stop investing in tax dollars in fossil fuels, invest in clean energy, elect politicians who will support sustainable development, hold our governments accountable. So those are just some ways that we can hold our government accountable. Like I said, they have, Carolyn Bennett has said that they will follow the UNDRIP, and people who aren't familiar with UNDRIP, it's the Indigenous, oh no, I think I forget what it's called. Yeah, I forget what it's called, but Canada adopted it in 2015, and it explains our rights to water. And so Canada's supposed to honor that, and we can push for that to be honored and for our voices to be heard when it comes to our lands and our waters. So that is, yeah, that's UNDRIP. If you have any questions for what I said, you can please comment that. And we have a digital story coming up next, and it's called Oneganos Water Stories. Our water digital story is called Oneganos Water Stories, made by Gomanio Private School here at Six Nations. Students share their stories and relationships and waters. As Elva mentioned, it's important to listen and uplift our young people in our community when it comes to protecting the water. Let's watch.
I used to canoe like a lot, and I loved that so much. Was just being out in the water just to see how calm and peaceful it was. It was like a way to kind of get away from everything and just to like be myself, or just to relax if I was stressed over anything. Like just to watch the waves and how the light shines on the water when it has that sparkle, and you just see like the softness of how the waves move. And it's just such a calming, I don't know, it's just calming.
And the reason why I put the hole right here to put the water in, this is a jump plug. If it's dry, a lot of them might ruin it as well, because it's so tight on there, and then because it's supposed to be wet, because it makes a different sound. It's the sound that you want.
There's some people that they can go in any body of water and they know what the tide is going to be like, what the current is. They just know because they've been around it for so long. They can go back in the bush, and they just by what happened yesterday, if it rained or not, or if it's been sunny for a long time, they know what the water's going to be like before they even get there. And to me, that was what would constitute as a relationship with water to me.
I think it's like relationship means like respect, trust, and like effort, loyalty, love. You gotta love, and not quite, you know.
For an example, like I trust her. We've known each other since we're in kindergarten. I tell her everything, and
we always went to school together. Like know pretty much everything about each other.
Yeah.
Our responsibility to the water is like basically, you know, taking care of it, and like it's basically like everything really, and like give thanks that we still have water. Cause like we can't do anything with water, you know. Cause like we need that to drink, and like we need that to feed our plants, and like feed our, you know, like feed our kids, so like
Animals.
Yeah, animals too.
If water's contaminated, a deer goes and drinks that water. It contaminates the deer. We go hunting, we kill the deer, we eat the deer, then we get you know, we're eating what the deer has put into its system. And, you know, to think that, you know, it's getting, you know, whatever's in that water, be it car batteries or whatever else they say is in there, it's kind of terrible to think about it, really.
We're gonna lose it.
Why?
Because people are putting a bunch of garbage and car batteries and everything else in there. Yeah. I just think they're careless
and like they don't think like and it's partly like maybe they never had like teachings about water and they don't care.
I think that goes back to our creation stories and all of our knowledge we have of us as a people. And we were brought up from little kids, babies, telling us to respect the water. Even in our opening, we give thanks to the water every day and every night to show that we appreciate them and how important the water is to us.
There's a lot of ceremonies that we have that involve the usage of water. Some of them have been around it, been around it for all their life, and some of them have got that and really got the understanding of what water really carries.
If you were to go anywhere and you don't know the rules of something and you just do what you want to do, but as soon as someone tells you not to do that and to be respectful or to be polite, then you know what you have done was wrong. So I feel like people just need to be more made aware of how important the water is.
You're in water when you're...
Yeah. Like in the womb, that's water.
And then each individual person is brought into the life with water. Like just be polite to it, like not throw garbage. If you see garbage near the water, like pick it up.
I just love their digital stories. We worked with the Neo students and almost every grade got to work on a digital story. And that was the high schools, I believe. And I love all of them. They're all different and they all came to one mind and worked on digital story together to tell about their thoughts on the water and its current environment. So to end, if nobody has any questions in the comments, I'd like to end this episode with a song, and the song is called "The Water Song" by Chinua Egwawa and Alex Turtle.
Way she has a dig I and shark. Nilsabaka, Nilsaba art horse and a chin toby yas being the tea. Hard the shin the lee and Nazan Lebacard being the hotel tea of Kodo habits and Saha case which a had so hot as an Degit ana shadoli hit a hahushi of Catholic yat Uhushil Horjoli. Beyat Uhuna shadoli, Ninzan of a Tahunsen Kisoni of Catholic away she is.
Yeah.
Thank you for the video and thank you for staying the whole video and all this episode. I want to let you know next week we'll be talking about Indigenous astronomy. So it's going to be super cool, and we have Robert Cockcroft, Sasha Dockstader, Brian Dara, who will be talking about Indigenous astronomy and how it's related to water. So that's going to be super interesting. So come back next week at 7 p.m. on Thursday, and that's what we'll be talking about right here on Negano's Let's Talk Water. Be sure to follow us on all of our social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we'll be back. We even be on TikTok soon. So I'll see you next week. Ona.